Welcome back, everybody. This is the Game One Loves Forever, the golf podcast. And today I have my good friend here, Dan. Dan, thank you for coming on today.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course, yeah. I know a couple times didn't work out, but we got to reschedule.
Yeah, these kids getting in the way of things, man. That's a common problem in my life these days.
Yeah, we had Mitch on a few, or it's last week, and he said the same thing. It's like you go through that phase, right, where you golf a lot, but then your kids are a certain age, and then you don't, right?
That's like every golfer with kids that have kind of gone through it will tell you the same story, and I'm like right in the middle. I got 2 teenagers now, so
yeah.
I'm in the thralls.
You're in the thick of it, yeah.
Playing way less golf than I used to.
Well, I remember when I first met you. I mean, we were playing what, like every Friday?
I was playing
with
every
each
Friday
other. We were playing,
sure.
right? Yeah.
I was logging 80 rounds a year back then, and I think I've got 12 rounds in this year. So
yeah,
different world, but it's all good. I wouldn't change it. That's for sure.
Well, speaking of one thing that I know hasn't changed, you throw a tournament, Eggnog
Open.
Open, that's right. And just kind of, I wanted to find out how that started. I know it's grown into a huge thing now. I played in it twice myself. Love it. Have fun. So how did that come about?
Yeah, so it started off as an excuse to not have to do anything on Christmas Eve.
There you go.
It was. This is actually the 10th year of the
nice.
the Eggnog Open, and it's bounced around to a couple places, but basically, I was like looking for an excuse to not have to kind of do chores all day leading up to Christmas Eve, and so I was like, screw it. I was actually kind of new in my role for work doing, and I was like, well, I'm going to reach out to a couple buddies and see if we can just go play golf in the morning on Christmas Eve. And that'll put us home around 2 or 3, just in time to kind of roll out or get going for Christmas Eve celebration. And the first year we did it, it was 4 of us. It was just a foursome, and we had a blast.
Was it anything then, or you just thought it was
it was just
right?
4 buddies golfing, and then when we got to the course, we kind of decided on the format, which the format has stuck like all 10 years. So basically, we just drew random partners on that day because there was only 4 of us. So, and then we played a 2-person scramble. So, so there was no index, no anything, no pops. It was just basically,
straight up.
Yeah. So, it rained on us, I think, for like half the round. It was miserable, and but it was a blast. Like it was just 4 buddies out playing golf, and we had pretty much the course to ourselves. No one was out there, and then we kind of talked to a few other people, and they're like, "Dude, that sounds awesome." So the next year, it grew to 8, and then 8 people were like, "Dude, we got to do this again." And then like I was kind of, I had a buddy who was working at a golf course and was like, hey, like we can take this out here and I can kind of get in with the men's club and we can maybe, make it a little bigger.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, Christmas Eve like is going to be really hard. So then we moved it to the Saturday before Christmas Eve. So, so we learned really quick, like there were some years that were going to be better because obviously people's travel plans would affect it. But we went basically from 4 to 8 to 16 to 60.
Oh, wow.
To I think the most we ever had, I had 100. I wouldn't go more than 100 golfers. And then we've been last couple years, we've been averaging between like 60 and 80, which is super cool because it's just a really manageable number.
Yeah.
And the way that I do the format now, it's kind of a pain in my own ass. Like I just do I do myself no service. So basically, what I do is if I get let's just say 100 people for easy numbers. So if you get 100 people, I basically rank them from 1 to 100 by their index. The best golfer 1 to the highest handicapper last. And then instead of doing pops, I put them into groups of 25. So A, B, C, and D. And then I literally put their names on paper, cut them up, and then I have a list of A golfers.
Yep.
And I draw a D golfer. So the best golfers are going to randomly draw the highest handicap golfer in the tournament, and then they're going to play a scramble. So it's a scramble, so you don't really need to stroke, stroke it out at that point. And then the Bs play with the Cs, same format. So it's interesting. Like I'm in the Whitney Oaks Men Club in Rockland, and some guys enjoy it, some guys just hate it, and they're like, I don't like having because you end up playing with a stranger, but like the whole premise of when I started this tournament, like I was kind of using it for work stuff to get to know people. I mean, that's really, and I think we'll talk about it a little later, but like I was totally leveraging golf to meet people and get to know people because I'm in sales. So, I mean, for me to get people outside of their arena where they're comfortable in, like it's a lot easier to get yeses when you're kind of on a level playing field or neutral ground. So
it's a lot easier to get yeses for golf, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Coffee
and I'm not, I'm not entitled or
yeah.
lending, so like I can actually pay for people's golf every now and then. So it's, I mean, it works out. It worked out pretty good. So, so then a few years, like I think around year 6 or 7, a lot of guys were like, hey, like we got a really good group of people here. We had a ton of returners, like most of the guys, it's very seldom we have new faces out there, or I mean, maybe 10% of the field is new faces. But guys were like, hey, like we've got enough people here to kind of make it charitable. And I'd always basically done $20 a guy, just goes into a tournament pot, and then depending on how big the field was, like I would pay out anywhere from 3 to 5 or 6 teams. Yeah. So then we're like, okay, cool. So $20 a guy. So I mean, you were paying like we were paying like $80. I was paying the course 60, and then we were getting $20 a guy into the pot. And it was cool because like the 2-man scramble was really important because that's where you get the integrity, right? The one team's going to keep the other team honest. So that was a big piece of it, right? So we talked about making it charitable, and then so we started doing, I think, 20 to charity, 20 to the pot. So it was like an even $100. And then this year I just said, you know what? It's the 10th year. We're going to push this thing out. And then like my kids travel baseball team's doing a fundraiser, going to Cooperstown. So I was like, cool.
Oh, that's nice.
We'll put some money towards that for the team.
Yeah.
And then my daughter's playing volleyball at Rockland High School, and they're trying to do a bunch of fundraising. So I said, cool. You know what? So we'll just go $50 for the charitable portion this year. Made it $125, and now we'll give 25 from every player to each of those two. That's nice. Each of those two sports
and then if you
teams.
win, you still get some money too, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So the player pot is still there as well. I didn't want to eliminate that. I feel like as I've grown in golf, like I'm probably less. I'm just less interested in kind of a social game anymore. Like I need a little bit of action. I'm not playing $100 games. I mean, but like I play a lot of $20 games, and that's enough it's a friendly amount where you can have fun, and you're not gonna kick somebody's teeth in or anything, but at the same time, buying beers with their money at the end of the round is a lot better than buying beers with your own. So that's the eggnog, and as far as other charitable ones, I did the Women's Council of Realtors in Placer County. I ran their golf tournament for a couple years. And we'd make $15,000, $20,000 in those things. And getting and getting the real estate organizations and different vendors and partners out there, and giving them good branding and all that. So, but I have kind of gravitated away. Those ones just don't get me going. Like they're typically long rounds, and it's I think kind of because I play so much less golf now. Like when I get an opportunity, when I get an opportunity to play, like I really want to like go out there and
right?
Yeah, I don't want to be playing best ball scrambles, stuff like that. But so that's
because I'm still part those scrambles. I feel like just ruin your game anyway. So
you're just trying to hit it as far as you possibly can, and I used to be a longer hitter than I am now. I don't try to hit it that far anymore. I'm trying to stay between the lines. I mean, like I said, I play at Whitney, so you gotta play a pretty narrow game out there, or it can be a long, not fun day. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So getting back to the 2-man scramble, I really like that because, like you said, it keeps everyone honest.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you're out there doing a 4-man scramble, there's probably multiple times where you'll take a birdie,
or you drop an extra ball. Yeah, and it's just like I mean, so and I mean, obviously the
Have you ever got a complaint on the 2-man scramble from anybody?
I mean, some guys don't love the format because you end up playing. There's a good chance you're gonna play with someone you don't know, and that's the other part I wanted to touch on with the 2-man scramble. That still gives me the ability for to put people who know each other in the same foursome.
True, yeah. But not on the same team.
So I don't exactly, and that's actually even better, right? I mean, I enjoy competing against my buddies more than anything, right? So that's a big part of it. But and that was just kind of a cool little thing. So now when guys kind of push back, like, oh, what do you mean it's not, because you say blind draw, they're like, oh, you go play your round, and at the end, everyone draws names, and you find out who your partner is. But I'm like, no, you're gonna sit in a cart with a stranger and play golf. Oh, and by the way, it's late December. It's gonna be cold, and it could possibly rain, and we get all and now we're at Whitney, so so have fun.
Hey, you're at Whitney. It may not be fun,
but it's funny. Back in the when it started, I mean, it was like.
What was the first course you guys played?
Timber Creek.
Oh, Timber.
Yeah,
okay.
the first. I think the first 2 years we played at Timber Creek, and then we went to Lincoln Hills for a couple years, and then we've been at Whitney, and then we were back at Lincoln Hills last year, and then we're back to Whitney again, which was important to me. I mean, that's, like I said, that's where my men's club's at, and it was important to get it back there. So
and it is tough when you play it on your own, but I think it's a little more fun when you play with a partner, right? Or scramble.
Yeah, and I mean, I think like being able to have that freedom where, okay, if I missed a shot, maybe my partner picks me up, or or maybe we're done early, maybe neither one of us have it that day.
Then you start grabbing beers, right?
Yeah. Well, and that was one of the other things with this tournament. I mean, it started off, with a gallon of eggnog and a fifth of Bullet bourbon on the tailgate of my truck. So that's grown. It's
that's right. That's the welcome drink now.
It's a couple fifths and a few gallons of eggnog nowadays. So and then this year I'm introducing one more wrinkle. The baseball team's going to come out, and the boys are going to hang out on hole 1.
Okay.
And they're going to have some beverages that'll be available, but they're also going to do a 50-50 raffle, which I think will be pretty popular amongst the golfers. So buy a couple raffle tickets for $20 and maybe leave with a whole bunch. Yeah. So
especially if you're not if you're like, maybe you're coming around, that's your like 9th hole or 10th hole, and you're like, let me give me another chance.
Yeah, I mean, if you're out of it, right, you can hedge your bet.
Yeah, exactly.
or if you're looped, you might just be feeling extra generous,
Exactly. Have you ever thought of maybe like having people not pick their partner, but like say, hey, Dan, I want to be on your team. Me and you play together.
Yeah, so I
think you have to handicap it.
I get a lot of, and it used to be because the handicapping was just going to be too hard to do. But now with Golf Genius, like I'm pretty tight with the head pro at Whitney, and I mean he'll do kind of whatever we need. So I wanted to honor the tradition of it in the 10th year and stick with that. I mean, quite honestly, it'll be so much easier in my world if I've got a team of 2 guys and just get them signed up. Yep. Because right now, that's the hardest part about this one. Like, and it happens every year. Someone's sick or someone just doesn't show, and it's like, well, their partner's totally screwed because now they don't have a partner.
Yeah.
And like they showed up, so it's like I usually have like a waiting list or some, a couple guys that live in the area. Like, hey, like if you need me, just call and I'll come down and play. So it's always worked out. But that morning of, like, and I've always
looking at your phone, huh?
And I've always done it myself. Like I've never really, I don't know.
So when you draw names,
I usually do it on Tuesday or Thursday.
Oh, okay, so you're pretty
or Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm sorry.
And for everyone's tournament's on Saturday.
Yep, yeah. We always play on a Saturday. So in the past, we've done 8:00 starts. This year they were cool. They let us push back to 9.
Okay.
It's like, and I kind of leverage the course too. I'm like, hey, if I'm bringing you 60 to 80 guys, or maybe even 100 guys in late December on a Saturday morning, like you're not putting that many rounds out that day, no matter what. So let's find a number that works for both of us, and give me a cool start time too. So let the course thaw out.
Exactly. Because I think.
We've had frost delays.
We've had frost, and then we pretty much just take the course for the day, right? Because by the time we're done,
I mean,
only people who are like local are going to play.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, someone can maybe go out and play 9 or something, but and the course will stage it the right way too. I mean, I push pretty hard to like just give us the whole course because I mean, like I said, 60 rounds on a Saturday in late December is plenty more than they were probably going to get anyways.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, okay, well, I just found it super interesting. And, I mean, obviously, I started a golf group. Yep. Kind of got the idea from you and Preston. Or not kind of, I did get it from you and Preston. I'll give you credit, I'll give you guys credit. I've always thought of doing a cool tournament like that where, for instance, like I've gotten 8 guys together before and we've done a beer chug challenge where in order to get your mulligan, but you still play your own ball.
Yeah.
But, it's scramble. But in order to get a mulligan, you get 6 of them, but you have to shotgun a beer, right? So You can either use them all at once, or you can wait till the end.
I can only play in that one if it's in Placer County. I can't get too far away from home with that format.
Well, and I was like, well, it's only 6 beers, but you know, it depends when you take them, right? Yeah. But that was pretty fun. And then it's like, well, how do you start to grow it? And so that's why I kind of want to pick your brain on that. And
yeah, I mean, I've just always been kind of fortunate. I mean, obviously between the men's club and my real estate networking that I do in that space, you know, I just have tons of contacts and you know, people, a lot of like just good-hearted people that'll get behind things. And then some of them are out just to have a good time that'll get behind it. And the cool thing, one of the coolest things too, is like now this thing it's got kind of its own lifeblood. Guys don't see each other other than this tournament, and they played together a couple years ago, and they're catching up, you know, like, and that was always cool. And even with when I started the real estate one, it was the same thing. It was like, once it kind of got going, like guys would like play together. Like, oh, they were doing deals together all of a sudden. You're like, oh man, like this thing is really, really cool. Like, and it was just this organic kind of life to it that was really neat and really like, it was just gratifying for me. I mean, honestly, definitely. At the end of the day, I wasn't trying to quantify the amount of dollars, but I knew that the relationships were being formed, and that was probably more important because I mean, a lot of those guys I still have really good relationships with today. And, you know, I mean, and here we are still doing the same thing, grinding away at, you know, at the real estate market. So.
Yeah, I like it too because it's, you know, it's like you said, it's maybe not to dollars, but just the fact that people are like, hey, please keep doing this. We enjoy it. Yeah. Like, even if I only make one a year, I still I get in the emails. Maybe I, you know, whatever I can make.
And I know your frustrations with it, man, because I was right there. Like guys bailing on the day of, and you're like, oh no, I'm shuffling my foursomes around, and you know, guys that show up 30 seconds before the tee time and they're tying their shoes on the box, it's So I mean, then you get there and people want to play with certain people, so then they're like, oh, just move me here. Yeah, or people don't want to play with certain people, and you're like, all right, man, hold on. Like, how much of this am I really? How much of this am I really willing to put up with?
I think for now, I've left it to about 20 people, 20 or 24.
Yeah,
I think that's.
And that was what I found. Yeah, like
that's a sweet spot.
5 or 6 foursomes is about as many as you want to do. Yeah. Once you get beyond that, you're just open to too many variables. You're banking on too many people, and especially, I mean, and again, not to continually go back to the real estate, but I mean, you know, in our professional industry, like deals happen and plans have to be able to change. People have to be able to pivot. They got to be nimble, and it's like, you know, not very many people in our industry are willing to blow off a client or a deal to go play golf.
And I get that, and I completely understand it.
100%, yeah.
So I never. Like, it does suck, but I never actually hold it to them because I understand.
Right, exactly.
I get it.
Yeah.
You know, things happen. But yeah, it's just part of the game right now.
That's it, man. Especially right now, man. It's been a grind.
Yeah. So how many guys do you have right now for your tournament?
I'm just shy of 60, so I'm guessing it's going to be between 70 and 80 guys this year. Usually get a decent little surge that last week. Guys travel plans will free up, or they'll finally convince their wife to let them play, and you know. I mean, I have to apologize to a lot of wives usually. You know, it's like these guys come home. It is definitely a socially competitive tournament. Yeah. Guys want to win, but that might not be their primary objective.
They're also glad to be out, right?
Yeah, right.
So another cool thing that, you know, that we can see eye to eye on, not only in golf groups and stuff, but you're also a fellow podcaster.
Yeah,
right?
I've got a podcast. And it's called Open the Gate. I started it with a buddy of mine who is a firefighter, a mortgage lender, and he also owns his own pool servicing and repair business.
And he had time to podcast, huh?
And he was willing to get it going with me, and
that's awesome.
It was really, really cool. So we got it started, and then. And he also has 3 kids, and you know, so and he's a firefighter in Seattle, so he was traveling for work. A couple months back, he had to step back, and so I brought in Kaylee Cornell came in, who was in your field for a couple years, and she's just super dynamic. It's changed some things. It's definitely changed the tone of the podcast a little bit. I think it's cool. She's like 10 or 12 years younger than me, so she's definitely tapping into a different demographic, and you know, I mean, truthfully, she probably sees the world a little differently than I do. You know, I mean, she's a lady. She, you know, so I mean, it's been really fun. So we interview, we do a lot of real estate interviews. I've actually got, we're recording our next episode on Monday, and we've actually got my buddy who was the CIO for Sac Fire for 4 years. So he was the guy on the news, and he's kind of worked his way up through the ranks. He was on the, I don't know what the show was called, but it was like that emergency show where the live action cameras followed the Sacramento firefighters. So he was one of the main dudes on that. So he's actually just kind of defaulted his way into this like social media and media career where he has this profession, you know? So he's going to come on and share. So we're looking forward to that. Awesome. But the podcast covers Sacramento real estate and lifestyle and kind of everything in between. So we love talking about local watering holes and restaurants and things to do. And, you know, it's pretty funny. We don't have a lot of LA fans. I mean, people come on and just kind of bash on LA, you know. So it's interesting. There's some like, definite underlying themes.
Yeah. So it's like Sacramento based.
It's Sacramento based. Yeah, we have no global aspirations. We're you know, like I've always been kind of a hyper local focused guy. It's important to me to have roots in my community and surrounding communities. From, you know, I mean, if someone in Chicago wants to listen, that's great. But for the most part, like we're focused on trying to keep it a fairly narrow focus on what we're doing here locally. And, you know, and we're having a blast doing it. It's obviously we're a lot different than yours. We only do like B-roll social media clips with, you know, we throw it into some caption, have AI edit it a little bit, maybe zoom in, zoom out for the most part. But we're trying to just drive everything to the audio platform. I consume probably 10 to 15 hours a week.
Me too. We're both on the road, right?
Of podcasts. So I spend so much time in the car. So I'm just like, well, I get super bothered by podcasts when it's like when they're referencing things on video and stuff like that. And I'm like, shit, I'm in my car. Like I have no clue what you guys are watching on your video or whatever. Like, I'm trying not to crash here, you know? So, but I obviously like there's a space for that too. So, and I think that like demographically, like the younger demographics will be more attracted to that video content. So we have, like I said, we have a small component. It's funny, the video probably takes more of our time than the podcast itself. I mean, our prep's pretty minimal. We spent a lot of time kind of building the foundation out and making sure that we were prepared in that regard. But it's like, the video is like the biggest time suck, like editing out the clips and figuring out which ones to use and things like that. So it's been a blast, man. And like I said, I mean, it was really just kind of started as another way to kind of get in front of people, provide a platform, and really just get to know people. So it's funny because we just have kind of some real conversations, which is great.
And exactly like you said, like yes, this is a golf podcast, but we just have conversations around golf, right? So I think, and I don't know if your guests feel the same way, but when I have people on. And eventually, you know, everyone's kind of nervous, right? When I talk about podcasts, like, I don't know, you know, what do I talk about? And then once you get going on your topic, which I'm sure in real estate and lifestyle, they all know.
So we have an icebreaker that's built into ours. So basically, I played baseball in college, so I have an athletic background. So it's always been like, I've always been super tied to sports and kind of that jock culture. So we basically have all of our guests. Part of their prep work is they have to send us their walk-up song.
Oh, nice.
So it's like, you know, like when you're at a baseball game and the batter's going up, like, and the song's playing, like they pick that song. So it's like, so they send us that song, and then we spend the first couple minutes just talking about why you chose that song, and immediately
and it
just really helps them to get to talking about something that something they're probably passionate about, right? They put some thought behind it and said, oh, well, this is why. And it gives, there's your first 5 minutes of the show right there. And then you're off and running because now they're way more comfortable and, you know, they're not worried about the camera pointed in their face or the microphone or the head. You know, we use headsets. So you know, there are things that can make you feel a little out of sorts. So it was really important to us. Like we really just kind of try to get them talking about about themselves.
Yeah.
You know, something they're
Yeah,
confident in.
something's easy to talk about. Oh, myself. All right. Yeah. No, and I'm sure if with you even just starting a podcast, I bet if you go back and listen to your first episode to now, you can probably hear the difference in your voice.
Yeah,
right?
well, it's interesting. So when we started, Blake used to run our board, and he was kind of the tech guy. And then when he left, I was like, oh shit, like now I got to run the board.
Yeah.
So it was funny because I totally bricked in our last one, and I screwed up so bad. Like I had to basically upload like. It was episode, I think, 26.1 and 26.2. And the title of 26.1 was like Technology 1, Dan 0. And it was just like this 4-minute clip. And it was our lead in, you know? And I was like, shit. So then the second one starts a little different than normally, but we got through it. Like it was funny. It was one of my top clients was the guest on there. So
it wasn't too bad.
She was super cool. She ribbed me a little bit for it, but it worked out pretty good. And like I said, I mean, it just when you get to that authentic space, like that's when they're good, right?
Yeah.
Like, and you know, like as soon as you're done, like when you hit that button and it goes back to red, and you're like, dude, you're like, I know that was a good one.
Yeah, for sure. And I used to, in order to make all my guests feel comfortable, I used to mess up all the time. So on purpose. No. Or like, you know, initially when I first started, you know, there were minutes where I was like, you know, where do I go next? Right?
Yeah.
Luckily.
We use
editing. I can edit it out.
We use an AI editor for ours, so it'll go in and clean up a lot of that stuff for us, which is cool. The cost is fairly minimal, so it's not like this, you know, big cumbersome deal that I'm worried about covering every month. Like, you know, maybe eventually we'll market some restaurants or something on ours, but for the most part, like we're really just doing it to kind of have fun, get to know people, and provide a platform.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I mean, because of what in like lifestyle, Sacramento, I think you could definitely get some marketing, you know, materials for once you get to that point. For sure. I think it's an easy transition for sure.
Well, and the cool thing too, like one of the things that we kind of just recently figured out was, I mean, those things are out there.
Yeah.
Like sure, you get your initial spike on your listeners or your downloads, like but it's crazy. Like we'll go back and look, and like episode 3 is still growing. Like episode 4 is still growing. It's like it's still out there, and you know you put the keywords out there, and people find it, and people resonate for different reasons, and it's cool. I mean, like we really just try and provide experiences where hopefully someone out there can hear something and go, oh, there's a nugget. Like I'll take that.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the same reason. So getting back to, I mean, you kind of mentioned it, but what made you want to start a podcast? And I'll kind of get into what was.
So for me, it was I was kind of looking around, and I had started listening to a lot of podcasts, and I was kind of like, this can't be that hard. It can't. Yeah. And so I started I mentioned to a few people, I was like, hey, like I think we can do this. And when I talked to Blake, he kind of lit up and he got kind of excited about it. He's like, yeah. And you're exactly right. I mean, the first couple episodes, we just stumbled our way through it, but it was great. Like, it's one of those things. So it's funny. One of the there's definitely common themes that come up on ours. Like, imposter syndrome comes up a lot. Like people feeling like oh, I don't deserve this or whatever. I'm out of place. Yeah. Which is a great topic, right? Because so many people have those feelings so often.
I think everyone does.
But the other one that comes up a lot is. We talk about it's like, like sometimes you got to just put one foot in front of the other and just get started. Like for me, that's, it's always been described to me. Like, I'm like, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? It's like, okay, when you wake up in the morning and you don't want to get up, well, just put your feet on the floor and just get up. Like, it's the old Nike slogan, just do it. Just it's one of the most powerful things ever written. That's why it's been around for 30 years. Yep. And, so it's pretty neat because like you can definitely reflect and you like look back like, oh dude, there are these these themes that just develop. Yeah,
I mean definitely that's how I started with this is just like just do it. Yeah. You'll figure it out, right? Yeah. You'll I'm fortunate to have met Gavin and he helped me a lot through the beginning part and still now. But I mean, just start right and get all
That's it. I mean,
you can.
I mean, if we really bomb one, we tell everybody, we're like, hey, if you say something that you really regret or you really don't want out there, like we can delete. It's not live, so.
And that's what I tell everyone is like, it's recorded. anything you say, or if you have breaks, we can edit it.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Don't just talk. Just go.
That's it, man. And I
don't
think
get crazy, but go.
Yeah, right. Yeah. We're not trying to record this thing 5 times.
Yeah. So, is there a guest that you like really wanted to get, or I don't know, like, is there anybody you thought that you could, or maybe you're still trying to get them?
I mean, we still have a long list of people, people who've approached us who'd like to come on. Nice. People we identified. I thought our coolest score was our first episode was Ryan Lundquist.
That was the very first one?
Yeah, and Ryan, and
awesome.
Ryan gets paid to show up and speak.
Yeah.
But I've known Ryan for a long time, and I've really, trusted in him and confided in him. Like, he's really been helpful for me in my growth at the Sacramento Association. And he's always just been super cool. And him and I have all these sidebars, like, on social media. Like, his social media posts are, like, they're just, I don't know if captivating, but, like, they just kind of invite interaction. He's so good at that.
Yeah.
And and obviously, like, on our side, we're like, okay, we got this podcast. We're looking to get up. Like, if Ryan goes on, like, people will definitely go listen to that. So the Ryan episode was one of my favorites for sure. It was cool because he actually he wasn't feeling well, and we did his via over the phone on Bluetooth.
And that was your first one?
It's the only time we've ever Bluetoothed one. And it's funny because looking back, we're like, oh my God, like, it was way more technical doing it that way, like, and getting it
because now you realize how easy it is
figuring out how to work. Yeah, like
there, right?
When it's just 3 people sitting in a room, and I mean, I literally have the board right in front of me, and I hit record, and off we go.
Yeah.
So that was a cool one. We've had some pretty high achieving realtors. Trisha Rossi was just on recently. She shared her story about moving from Jersey to Copperopolis and how she got here, and and how she came from nothing. And it's really, really neat when people come in and just open up. Albert Chavez came on and promoted his book a little bit, and just got really, really deep on, like, that look in the mirror type of stuff. Like, are you really willing to look in the mirror and look into your heart, and are you doing the right thing? And his story was pretty crazy. And then just a ton of fun people in between, man. Yeah. Like, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably feeling the same way I am. I mean, this is going to be episode 17, and just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it's super cool when people, like, stop you and go, "Oh, I listened. Like, I really liked it." I'm like, "Oh, cool." That's. I mean, it makes you feel good, right? Yeah. You're like, okay, like, I'm not just wasting my time.
Yeah. I will say I listened to a few of your first episodes with Blake, and he's just very charismatic, very not to say you aren't, but I'm just saying, you could tell he was the lead.
Blake was really good at, so, like, it's a fairly scripted base for the show, and then we'll kind of just pull stuff from it, and he was fantastic about just kind of the ad-libbing type of stuff. So now I've kind of had to take on that role. So I'm getting better. I'm not nearly as
and I listened to a few with Kaylee too, and she's just as she's good too.
Yeah. They're both just so authentic.
Yeah.
It's just they are who they are. Yeah. So and that bleeds through, and I think you need that. Yep. They both just kind of drag me along with them at this point.
Yeah. So that's how you started a podcast, and so now getting back to golf. How did you get into golf? How did you start golfing?
So this is kind of a weird story because, I mean, I grew up in Half Moon Bay, so we have like 2 like world-class.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so you played that one a lot, huh?
But I was a baseball player, so I played baseball in high school, and golf season was during baseball season. So I never really got into golf. I kind of started tinkering around with it like when I was a junior in high school because I was working at the Ritz-Carlton and at the
nice.
And at the bar at the golf course in Half Moon Bay. I was just cocktailing because it was like short shifts and I could make pretty good cash in a short amount of time and valeting some cars at the Ritz, and it was just cash. Well, I was like at this golf course, and like one of the perks of working at the golf course was you get to play for free, like after 2:00, and I'm like, dang, like so. The pro shop was right next to the restaurant, so I used to always talk to the pros when it was slow, and we just hang out. And they were like, "Dude, you need to play golf."
Yeah.
So we went out, and we were talking about this. So I'm a lefty.
Yep.
Like I throw left-handed, I write left-handed. So we went out and I was playing with one of the pros, and I just had this baseball swing, man. I mean, over the top, snap hook, just ugly.
Yeah.
And about halfway through the first round I was playing with him, he threw me his 9-iron. He goes, try to hit this one. So I stood on the right-hand side and got my grip figured out and hit one. And it felt pretty natural.
Better,
and
yeah.
it was just, and I hit it straight.
So do you bat left too?
I bat, yeah, left, yeah.
Okay, so you didn't know at the time.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So, so then, but then like right after that, like I went to college. I was playing baseball. Like I just didn't have time for golf. Like we'd go out and hammer beers and
yeah.
Drive golf carts like assholes.
Yeah.
When we had the time. But I mean, so I was playing 2 or 3 times a year. No training. No anything. No coaching.
Yeah. Just going out and have a good time.
Yeah, and I mean, and I'm in college. Like I was broke, and then after college, I was working in restaurants still. So it wasn't like I was like rolling in dough. And golf's not a cheap sport. Like so. So we were living in Kansas City. I lived in Kansas City for 6 years, and this is actually where I got the idea for the golf group, for the networking group.
Okay.
Was one of my buddies out there was a CFP, so he had this database of wealthy people who he was trying to get business from for his financial planning business. So he started inviting them out to play golf, and then he was like, "Well, my buddy Dan's a cool guy, like gets along with people well." So he started inviting me.
Yeah.
So then he started building this network, and then we moved back, and I was like. Once I kind of got into that outside sales role, I was like, dude, I could totally copy that idea,
Yeah.
And so that was kind of it. So that was in like 2014 when we got back and I started kind of getting into golf. And then I like full on got the bug. And my kids were young. Like they were, going from school to daycare. My wife works too. So it was like, I mean, I can go sneak in 9 holes and pick up the kids in time from daycare. And started playing a lot. That was when I was playing a lot, and I went from like a 25 handicap, and I got it down to like 11. I've never got to a single digit. I've always said I want to get to a single digit. It drives me crazy. Like all the guys on my men's club are like, dude, there's no way with your golf swing.
Play a different course.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean,
I know your handicaps travel well from that course, but play a different course to get low. And
So. Yeah, convenience plays a big factor in my golf game these days too. Though I gotta be pretty close to home. Yeah,
that's nice.
So
I know that's why I do like living in Folsom and having Empire. Like when we play the Empire rounds, I'm like, oh, I love 5 minutes.
Yeah, and I mean,
and you get home.
I mean, in Rockland, I live in Rockland, so we've got Whitney right there, but you've also got both of the Lincoln courses, Sun City courses. You got Cota Madera. I know a handful of guys out there. I can get on that course. Yeah. You've got Sierra View. You've got Timber Creek. You've got Diamond Oaks, Wood Creek. You've got. I mean, there's so many. You've got up in Auburn. It's just so there's so many options for me, all within 20 to 30 minutes of the house.
I know that is one thing. It's like it's Empire or.
Apple or Mather,
Mather,
maybe
Ansel. Yeah, it's a bit deep.
Yeah,
but nothing within not 4 within 15 minutes.
I can play all those courses without hitting 65, let alone 50 or 80. So so like proximity to where I live is cool. But like I said, I got 2 teenagers now, so I mean, there's very little time for. Very little time for golf. Oh, and and
once a
20,
month,
30 people on the team that are expecting me to be, making the phones ring and bringing in business. So there's that component too. I mean, I've definitely had to, the real estate market's not flowing like it was in 2020.
Definitely had to back up. So. Couldn't grab that afternoon round anymore. So.
But that's really kind of how I got into it. And like I said, I'm actually in a really happy space with golf. I play golf for enjoyment, and I'll play, in some $20 games and stuff like that. But I'm able to, I'm still able to scratch that competitive itch, and spend some time with the boys. But
so
I definitely savor the opportunities a lot more. It's just so hard to carve out 5 or 6 hours.
I know.
I get kind of excited when I hear about the golf, the courses that want to tinker with like 12-hole, ideas and these kind of new wrinkles
or like
to allow
6-hole loops.
Yeah.
That way you play 12,
Yeah,
or you play full 18 if you need.
Yeah,
Or camp
like
halftime.
we went to Mexico a couple years ago in Cancun, and there was it was like three 9-hole loops.
Okay.
So you could basically, they would route you on 2 of them, and then
Yeah.
and then we were, by that time we'd hit the hospitality suites enough, and we were like, oh, we're just gonna sneak over onto it.
Yeah.
We'll get all 27 in today. So.
And I think if they did have 6 holes, I mean, you do that early in the morning, still get to work.
Yeah,
probably by like 8 a.m.
Yeah, I mean,
depending when the sun gets up.
If you're willing to wake up, I mean, I can jump out on Whitney at 6 and be in the office by 8:30.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Which is cool, but I mean, I got too much going on for that, man.
Yeah, it's not.
Like I said,
worth it. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I know it's a golf podcast, but I find myself playing a lot more pickleball than golf these days. I mean, because I can go play for an hour.
Yeah,
get a little bit of workout in and some competitive juices flowing.
Yeah.
Meet some people, have a little fun, and then be on to the next thing, like without that big time commitment. So.
Yeah, no, I get you. I mean, it's with travel, luckily if you're close, but anywhere outside of Folsom, it's at least 30 minutes there, play 30 minutes back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not hitting a small bucket of balls before.
Yeah,
around.
definitely. Yeah, not anymore. Yeah,
I'm not spending 20 minutes on the range, chipping and putting, stuff like that. It's usually show up, put the shoes
Stretch
on.
out.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm usually there.
Take some dry hacks.
I'm 15 minutes ahead of my tee time. Not an hour. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely had to cut back. Even for me, I should get there early enough, but it's maybe 20 minutes now, and
it's. I mean, unfortunately, it's gotten even more pricey.
Yeah.
So. That doesn't affect too much, or either that or my kids have gotten more expensive, or the combination of both.
Just the dollar seems harder to spend. Yeah,
the 14-year-old eyeballing her, her first car and all that. It's like, oh my gosh.
So last week, it's funny you talk about like the $20, playing for something. Last week, Mitch kind of brought up the idea of playing for merchandise.
Yeah, I heard that.
So, I mean, do you think that's something your group would be into, or you think because that's probably more like.
I don't know.
So you're paying for the round, and then maybe a $30.
Dude, I know you're
$40 hat.
Dude, you're looking at a freaking $80 shirt or something. I'm like, man, I ain't trying to buy you clothes.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, I mean, from the bragging rights perspective, for sure. If you were winning, you're loving it.
And I do like the fact that you start to you get a new hat from here, get a new hat from there,
right?
And you start to accumulate things you wouldn't normally buy or get, right? And then you can slowly transition your old. I have a bunch of old hats that I still. I've always
been kind of a keepsake guy. Like if I go to a cool course or a course I don't think I'm going to be back to or something, I definitely like to try and pick up like a little pouch or something memorable, something other than a hat. Like I'll wear a hat and ruin it, and then I'm like, I like to have something for the office to put on the wall or something. I'm always jealous of the guys who collect the flags and have them framed in their offices, but I'm also like, well, I'm not going to copy that idea. Too many guys do it nowadays.
Yeah, all the flags and stuff. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so before we get out of here, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you for your time. And I kind of gave you this before. What is your dream foursome?
So number one. So my number one guy is Fred Couples.
Oh, I like it.
The number one guy, and I'll tell you, I'll make this story quick. So 2 years ago, I was playing at Whitney, and on hole number 12, it's a par 3. I hit my first shot. I pulled it left into the creek, and I was pissed. There's a drop zone. I was pissed. I just pegged another one and hit it and holed out.
That's right. I heard about that.
So I made a hole in 3.
Oh, yeah.
I made a hole in 3. My buddy's like, nice par.
Yeah.
And I ended up, they gave me a dot for the chip in our dot game.
Okay.
But so that story kind of started circulating. Well, one of my other buddies he's kind of like a sports nut. He sends me this clip of Fred Couples, and he did it at the Players. So there's a clip of Fred Couples. He hits one in the water. He tees another one, and he jars it.
Holds it, yeah.
And they show him walking off the tee box after he hit it, and he has this look on his face. And I was like, that's what it feels like to do that.
You knew exactly.
Just from the look on his face, I was like, that's exactly how it feels. Because people were like, how's that feel? And you're like, well, it feels awesome, and then it feels completely shitty at the same time.
Yeah, it's like,
yeah.
I think it would be like both joy, but then you're like,
Yeah.
well, it's a fucking par.
Yeah.
Like,
so definitely Fred Couples, and we'd be able to
That's
rap
awesome.
about that for a while.
Yeah.
And then this one's a little
and
obscure.
he does
but
seem like a cool, just a chill,
dude,
cool
he's
guy.
like the coolest
and
guy.
like his
He
Mr.
wears
Tempo.
casual shoes.
Yeah,
Yeah, seriously, I'd
Mr.
just be
Tempo.
like, I'd just be drooling over his swing all day. But this next guy is kind of an obscure one. He was really, really hot and really popular for a while. But that he's a British guy, Beef Johnston. You remember Beef? He had the big beard. He's a big barrel-chested dude. He was always like playing with the crowd and getting into it and having fun. So he would be fun. And then it would have to be like probably Sevy.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
or like Chichi Rodriguez. I would just want to have just a freaking kind of a party groove.
Yeah,
man.
that's
like,
cool.
I don't need to be playing with Tiger. Like I'm competitive, but not like that anymore, man.
Yeah.
So
No, that's cool. I mean, that's a great.
yeah, if we could ruffle up those four, I'm in, man. 100%.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah,
Rustle up those four, I'm buying.
I love how you just thought about it and just like not the usual, Tiger Phil and throw in someone else, right?
Yeah, I don't think it'd be that fun to play with those guys. To be honest.
Probably not. It'd probably be really quiet, honestly, unless you, I don't know, unless you knew it was like a fun. I don't know. Even I think a fun round for them is not that fun.
Yeah, you let me hang out with Phil Couples for 4 hours. I'm gonna get my money's worth.
Exactly. So, okay, well, thank you again, man.
Awesome.
It was
Yeah,
so much
appreciate
fun.
it, for sure.
Yeah. And for everybody out there, if you like what we're doing, like, subscribe, and please check out Open the Gate podcast.
Yep. Follow us on Instagram.
Where can they find you?
We broadcast on Spotify, iTunes, and also iHeartRadio. Yep.
Nice.
Open the Gate.
Yeah. Are you guys on Instagram? Same thing.
Open the Gate Show on Instagram for just clip video media, and then there's a link tree there as well. Sweet. So fairly easy to find.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you to X.Golf. Thank you, Chuck. We're letting us film here. Thank you to Gavin again. You're my guy, number one. And just keep watching. Oh, and keep watching too. We have a 3-hole match that went down to the wire, so check that out. That'll be coming out soon as well. So we'll see you next time. Peace.
Sweet.